The ESEA Season 11 LAN Finals right here in Dallas, Texas. We're already underway with the Cyber Revolution going up against Blight Zomblerz. Again, this is the third map out of the best of three. As, again, we are live. Score right now 1-0 in favor of Zomblerz. What happened during that first round?
Blight, it looked like they ran a default setup. They kind of just waited, felt out the counter terrorists, see what they were doing, and then once they figured out they were passive, then they went into a fake, and they faked over at that A bomb site, and they ended up hitting B. So they got an entry kill actually with the fake, drew members out of the B bomb site, and they hit that bomb site, got the bomb down, and Devour and his teammate won a 2-on-2 to take the round here. So Blight, again, it just looks like another theme that we're seeing, maybe that we're going to be seeing this whole half. Is just a default where they just take things slow, they send team members out in various parts of the map, make sure the CTs aren't pushing, and then they're going to regroup and then figure out what they're going to do from there.
It's pretty standard for the most part for a map like this, where you're going to see a lot of defaults. I remember even with some of the 1.6 stuff, it was the exact same way. A lot of defaults.
It's the safest way to play.
Oh, exactly. So now it's going to be down to a 1v2 with Schaefer. Schaefer's got 3 kills in this round, though, with that deagle. He's just trying to spray through that smoke and see if he'll be able to pick something up here. Again, this round is going to go to Zomblerz. He's got an MP5, so he's going to go ahead and hold on to that. That may be beneficial in the third round. So far, again, it's 2-0 in favor of Blight Zomblerz. Again, Zomblerz picking up that pistol round and just having a really, really good, successful round overall. As we look into this next round, we'll see if that MP5 that was picked up there by, I believe, Schaefer had that MP5. I believe he may have dropped that off to Miller in this round. So you can see Miller has the MP5. Schaefer's still using the deagle here. And we're back to what we had before. So for those of you that are at home that are packeting.
Yeah, people are just trolling.
Trolls!
Well, it's not confirmed yet.
No.
But
all right, so let's go ahead and hop back into the game now. Luckily enough, we're built around defaults for this map for the most part, so there should be slow beginnings and really fast endings. So we're about to see this fast ending right here, as it's down to a 4v5. So again, score right now 2-0 here in this best of 3, and you can see right now it's just a quick round, another round coming in for Zomblerz. You had Cyber Revolution, who was on a deagle save, and so we've had, again, another round coming in for Zomblerz.
Yeah, it's looking really good here for Zomblerz. They're carrying the momentum over from the second match. And I think if I'd have to pick a side to favor, I think the terror side here has a little bit of advantage, maybe like a 8-7 or something.
Let's go and take advantage of this time frame while we're kind of delayed here. Anytime that we have some downtime, we'll kind of look throughout the map and kind of break parts of the map down. So take advantage of the time that we're away, if you will.
Yep. One of the reasons why I think the terror side has such an advantage is because I'll go over here to the B bomb site, and I'll take the fastest route to the other bomb site. And you got to go all the way down here, and then over here, and then there's just so many positions that terrorists can be in. When they're holding the bomb sites, they can be on the roofs, they can be under here, up in the hallway. So if you can get the bomb down as terrorists, you're going to have a really good advantage, especially in that site, because the bomb sites are really spread apart, so it makes it hard for the CTs to run through and
right.
retake.
One of the things, though, too, I mean, you said that they're so far apart. There is one really, really quick transfer way that you can get from one side to the next. Now, what that does, though, since it's so incredibly quick, it's so hard to get through because the choke point is so narrow. Whenever you try to enter into the bomb site, it's almost an insta-kill or an insta-death if you're trying to push inside the site or trying to rotate from site to site. Bomb's going to get planted. This is what you were talking about. Now they have only one real location that they have to worry about, and some great flashes that come into play here as they tried to push inside that site. As you can see, this is how they're kind of set up there. You've got the terrace twos up there towards the balcony, one over there towards ramp, but there's only one main doorway that they have to really worry about, and see how they kind of pan this one out as they try to push in through the site. But again, we're talking about the entry into that site. As that's going to be able to do that round. Now it's going to be 4-0. Zomblerz is able to hold that area on lock. Again, it was a great entry flash in the beginning of that round, and then but in the end, you've got the Zomblerz, who did a great job of just kind of backing away. They only lost one team out of that whole gunfight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like you mentioned, look at this choke point that the terrorists have to guard, and then when you come in here at CT, there's just so many areas to cover in such a wide area. So it's really, really tough. Right,
and it's not only just the fact that it's just so many areas to cover. We're talking about elevation changes as well, not just left to right, where you're having to watch a full 180 degree, but you're also having to change planes high and low, and that's another thing that's just kind of not beneficial for the counter-terrorists, having to retake that site. Again, it's just a matter of losing the site. It kind of goes back to the reason why the terrorists have the advantage. If we can go back over to the A-bomb site. If you look at it, the A side, as we're here at the B-bomb site, we'll see that there's two different entry points for that site. Again, it's kind of a complete flip-flop of what we were talking about before. We had mentioned on Tuscan that it's a really well-balanced map because it has 3 different entry points into each bomb site. This is not that map. Yeah. There are 3 different entry points into the map. As you can see, you've got what I call the DMV, the Dead Man's Valley, or some which would call a banana. You've got that area towards the left. You also have the catwalk area that you can enter in towards, and that's about it. Those are 2 main entries, unless you figure out a way to penetrate that CT spawn area going through the vents. Again, it's allowed, making a lot of noise to push in towards that area, but as we look at it, they're able to get the bomb down, and the retake is a little bit easier on the A-bomb site for the counter-terrorists because there are several different avenues that they can take.
Yeah, so I think if you're going to overstack a bomb site, you should. That's why you're always going to see at least 2 members in the A-bomb site, just because it's harder to retake, and they'll have 2 in A over here, even though there's 2 CTs here in B, even though there are 2 entryways. So simply because A is so much harder to retake, they're always going to have 2 here. They're usually going to have 1 CT member rotating in between 2 bomb sites.
And typically, one of the things I'm going to ask you is, if you know that a map is like this, then why don't you kind of build your defensive strategy around retakes? What are some of the downfalls of doing something like that?
Well, when you rely on retakes, you're going to have everyone's going to have at least 1 flash, if not 2. So you're going to have to rely on your economy. If you don't have flashbangs, you can't rely on a retake. So that's one of the issues. And also, another issue, there's the benefits and downsides, obviously. The benefits are that if they hit the other bomb site and you're doing a retake, then you're more ready for that site. But if you're going to try to retake another site, you're going to give them free passageway in there, allowing them to have maybe 4, even 5 members, and trying to retake and defuse the bomb site in 35 seconds while there's still 5 members left. It just makes it really, really tough for everyone to, eliminate all the terrorists and defuse.
Well, this is interesting. Watching what they're doing right now, they've got 3 members who are pushing up here towards this top catwalk area that's going to push out towards this main balcony. Now, you can see that this is a perfect chance for them to make something happen. This is an interesting strategy for the counter-terrorists here for Cyber Revolution. They've only got 1 member watching that area, and they're kind of relying on somebody to rotate back through. You're just putting a lot of pressure on 1 player, and Mainline doing a great job taking out multiple members. Now Devour's all by himself here in the situation. Kind of an interesting scenario to work with. Kind of the inverse of what we were talking about, allowing just 1 player to watch the site and having a great retake over that site. And it just so happened to be the exact inverse of what we were talking about.
The downsides, again, if they hit the other bomb site, you're overstacking it, so you give yourself a higher percentage. And then since you're such a lackluster number in the other bomb site, but you can play that way. It is, sometimes you do have to take risks like that. I'm not against it. I like it.
So let's go back over towards the A-bomb site real fast. I want to take a look here at something that one thing that we may be overlooking. I know we're evaluating the map. Again, there's a B-bomb site. So on the A-bomb site, if you look inside the site here, so we hop back in game, you can see that there is those 2 entry points plus the 3rd over here towards your left. The thing to consider is those two main entry points, the catwalk area, is whenever we're talking as if you're in counter terrace, you're stacking the other bomb site and you're rotating through. You've got that quick transfer way, but we remember the choke point that we have to really worry about. But the other thing to consider is if you stack that other area, you can rotate also through the middle area and come up that main ramp. Exactly right here, as you can see, you can rotate through middle and go down towards that main ramp, which takes you to two different locations there. And so if you have enough players alive, you're definitely not going to pull something off if you have a 2v situation on the counter-terrorist side. But maybe a 3, definitely a 4-person retake could definitely work. It's just a matter of then what you're forcing the terrorists to do after they've got the bomb plant. They've got so many different areas to worry about later on in the bomb timer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you're going to play that retake type setup, the one player that's defending the bomb site, he has to get his communication off as soon as he can. He has to do a really good job spotting. He can't really play that passive. So try to spot aggressively as you can so you can give your teammates enough time to be able to, set up for the retake or start flanking and whatnot. Because if you just, if you're playing really passive and you let the T's already get in the bomb site and don't give any of your teammates time to counter, then it's really not a very good viable strat. So it's the responsibility of that one player to just spot that one area by himself and get his communication off. It's a huge responsibility. But, if he can do it well, then that's a strat that's commonly used.
So right now the score is currently 6-1 in favor of Blind Zomblerz. Again, with the way we started this series, this best-of-3 series, Zomblerz was trailing in the first half 8-2. They were able to answer back and bring it to 10-5. And then from that point on, they made it 16-11. Still losing that first map, but they started to make it a little bit more interesting. That could just be due to the fact that this is the first game, the first real map of this entire playoffs. And it's been a good deal amount of time since the last time they've really had a true match in the regular season, or since the regular season as we head into the postseason. So that may be a delay. Most of the scrimmages and stuff like that are the differences, and now you can see that a team like Zomblerz has started to heat up and start to pick up rounds, especially there on that second map, which I believe the score was 16-5. That was my last recollection. You said you thought it was 16-7. We'll double check and see what that exact score was at that point. Either way you look at it, Zomblerz definitely dominated that game.
Yeah, and I just think it just took them a match to warm up there. Honestly, I feel like they're just skilled players. It just took them a match to warm up, and now they're really starting to get heated up, and it's showing here also in the first half of their map.
Well, and one of the great things is what we've been mentioning. This is, and in my opinion, you can agree or disagree, this is a very terrorist-sided map, especially just in the sense of that it's a retake scenario for the CTs. You're putting a lot of pressure on one person to defend a site. And this right here, that's a perfect scenario. You can see you've got one choke point that you have to watch, and Heatwave can just have it on lock all by himself. They utilize the smoke later on in the round. Again, a lot of people, I think, have grown into custom just because it's so muscle memory that they'll throw smokes and flashes in the beginning part of the round. And one of the things to consider is hold on to that nade set. And for the later part of the round, whenever you're trying to throw counter flashes, counter smokes, you're trying to delay the defense to get into a bomb site. It's a great time to use it as well. We saw Heatwave on the map there on DE on Tuscan, where he threw a grenade into the site whenever he heard the defuse. So that's just, again, just later on in the round, if you're trying to just play at a high level, period, playing Counter-Strike or any game scenario in an FPS, think about it in a greater sense than just what you're normally used to using. Don't just fall into a trend because a lot of gamers become pretty typical. They run into this repetition, especially we watched on Contra. I know I'm rambling here with this stuff, but on Contra we saw we had teammates from Cyber Revolution who were dropping down from that top A onto that ledge. Well, as soon as they fell into the ledge, they were basically in headshot range for Heatwave to pick them off one by one because it's so typical. It's so standard to do to push into that bomb site. And so, again, it's just you want to do the unknown, the outside of the norm whenever you're playing games because sometimes it may be an angle that you watch. Maybe you're outside of a corner area and whenever they start to peek out, they're so used to checking these exact spots in corners. But what if you're out in the open around a corner and just you already have your headshot set up?
Right. I agree completely. Two things you mentioned. Anytime you use your grenades in Source, since they're so much more powerful than in 1.6, the grenades do more damage, the flashes last longer.
Right.
They deafen you, and the smokes are
they're so great.
So dense. You know, every time you use them to set you up. You know, if you're gonna flash, then flash, clear out an angle, and then advance, or take a room over, or you know, just utilize them. Don't throw them and then not use them for your advantage. So
right.
you got to use those to help you to make impact plays. And another point you mentioned was sometimes people sit in these comfortable positions that they're just so used to playing, but those are the positions that your enemies are going to check first.
Right.
So like you said, sometimes if you just sit in the open and random positions, you know, it's going to catch other people off guard. It's going to make them aim another half screen or whatnot than what they're used to.
What's really interesting, so whenever I used to cast on a regular basis back in 2005, 2006, I could tell you the exact locations of majority of the top players, where they played. For instance, Shagwire, whenever he was watching the B bomb site, how he played those positions, and it was almost to a T where you could just check that spot and you knew he was there. There was a way to check his spots when you entered into the B-bomb site and stuff like that. And I know for a fact that a lot of the professional players, the opposition that they were about to play against, they would go through demos and look at certain things. And then also, at the same token, you correct me if I'm wrong, you become so accustomed to playing against certain players, you know what they're going to do, and you're ready for it.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it goes with any professional sports.
Right.
You know, people watch game tape of their opponents and they figure out what, you know, the percentages of what their tendencies are, what plays they like to do, what positions they like to be in, what are their comfort spots. So then when you actually play the game, you've already, you know, fed your mind that information, then you can recollect and break down what places to check and give you a higher percentage,
right?
You know, to counter their position.
So if you're just now tuning in, right now you're watching a stop-motion game worth of Counter-Strike Source here in the upper bracket round 1. Here with Cyber Revolution and Blight Zomblerz. Earlier in this game, if we can look at the scoreboard right now, the full scoreboard showing the rounds, you can see how the Zomblerz started off the game and picked up 5 consecutive rounds, and then finally Cyber Revolution started to pick apart that offense here in these games so far. But again, score 6-3 right now. This is the third and final map here of this best of 3 between these two in the upper bracket. But right there, you've got the Zomblerz just holding down that B bomb site, picking up the round as the score is now 7-3. You know, we had mentioned about the retakes and stuff like that. They're just so difficult, period, whenever you're dealing with these bomb sites. One way or another, you either have to take a lot of time to get to kind of spread out your defense to kind of retake a site, or B, you have to play extremely aggressive, which you're narrowing your playing field. You're stuck in one location.
Yeah. I mean, it's when you're a terrorist and you're attacking these CT sites, you know, the CTs are going to be waiting for you. They know where to look, and then when the terrorists plant the bomb, the roles have reversed, where now the CTs are the attackers, and now where the terrorists that they're defending the bomb site, they know exactly where the CTs are coming from. Right. So, you know, the two things that you want to do when you retake is that you got to counter flash and then everyone hit together, or two, try to attack and retake from as many different angles as you can. To give yourself a better chance. And
that's one of the hard things about retaking either one of these sites. I mean, if you're trying to use the counter flashes, or if you're trying to smoke up areas, one of the hard things, if you just look at the A-bomb site, there's boxes. There's a ton of boxes that you can hide behind. You may be able to throw it over the wall and get that kind of that skybox, but that flashbang is going to end up flying way too high. You have to throw it back from the CT spawn. You have to make these like really big adjustments. You have to throw the perfect flash to at least try to flash most of the site. What happens is then you have somebody over there in the balcony area that can peek out. He doesn't get blind. You got the guy who's over toward ramp. He's not going to be blind. The only person that's going to be blind is the person inside the site. Which those two, you have no way of blinding them unless you get a perfect pop flash on both of them. And that's just so incredibly difficult to make that happen, especially taking retaking the A-bomb site. As for the B-bomb site, whenever you're trying to retake that bomb site as a counter-terrorist, there's one thing that is a big issue. There's a roof right above it. This is a closed space. And
can't sky flash in that bomb site.
Nope.
but it does give you an extra entryway to retake. You get that back hallway, and then you've also got that catwalk stairs. But regardless, it is still a tough retake.
Yeah, I mean, either way. This is definitely a CT-sided map. So there's a lot of times that.
You mean a T-sided?
I apologize. Yep. A T-sided map. We get into these instances where we both we're casters overall. It doesn't matter who it is. We battle between saying it's a T-sided or a CT-sided map. This is one of those times that I can sit there and really tell you this is a certain sided map. So this is definitely a T-sided map, going back to what we were talking about. Bomb's going to get planted over there towards the A side. We'll see how... let's go and take a look around and see the setup and see what we're looking at. So you got one that just got killed inside the site. Bombs getting planted, and this is the issue. Again, you've got two players right here. Both have M4s. That's a good sign. You definitely don't want to go in there with an op because you're really restricting yourself. And there goes the round. They just, in the end, you just have to take complete chance and push inside the site and hope that they don't hit those first shots. Because once you're in, it's a little bit different story. It's kind of like an infestation of counter-terrorists pushing inside a site, and then from there, the terrorists have to worry about so many different locations. But it's just getting in is the issue. Exactly.
Yeah, that's when you retake that bomb site, you've got to throw counter flashes over. There's no way you can just run in and expect to outgun them.
This is okay. Go back up a little bit here. You can see how high this wall really is, and this is what I was talking about. You can't get that perfect flashbang, and if you do, it's just going to blind just a few areas. So there's actually you have a chance to hide underneath the balcony as well to be a good location too. So it's just a tough site to take because we talk about using your grenades, your full nade sets, flashes, and stuff like that. This is just not that site to do.
Yep.
Again, I apologize for those of you that are watching and you're going, man, these guys are just going on and on about the maps. But this is we're trying to provide you with some knowledgeable information with the content that we have to work with right now. Score now 8-4. We're in the upper bracket round one. Here with Zomblerz and Cyber Revolution. And now one of the things that we've been discussing, and I know you've heard us say it this entire time, Blight Zomblerz, they're on the terrorist side.
Yeah.
They do have to switch sides.
They do.
So Cyber Revolution is going to have the same opportunity, the same chance. If they get this score down to a 9-6, the best they can do now is a 9-6, I would feel pretty confident at that point. That's a pretty average... probably a little bit better than average score to get on the counter-terrorist side. Getting 6 rounds, probably pretty good.
Yeah, I would accept that, especially after losing the first 5. I think a 9-6.
Well, especially the pistol round at that point.
Yeah, they lost pistol, and then they lost 5 rounds in a row. So 9-6 would definitely be a salvaged half. But again, they're going to have to win pistol because the way Blight played their CT half last round, it was just really, really strong. So... I think CyberRev, they need to pick up at least one more round. I think 5-10, that's something workable, but it just forces them to win the pistol round next half.
Be an interesting stat to have. I'm going to shoot this out to Jaguar to make this possible with the broadcast app. I want a percentage of how many times a team plants in a certain bomb site. That would be an interesting thing to know because I believe majority of the plants have happened here towards this A bomb site, which goes back to kind of accreditate the what we've been talking about towards that A side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be definitely an interesting stat. Not even just this match, just an overall season.
Just overall,
yeah,
right.
Every time the map's played, that'd be a good statistic.
So right now, it's going to be left up to Schaefer and Stan. Let's go ahead and look at the stats overall. I mean, take advantage of what we've got information-wise. Schaefer's 13-10. We're talking about before Miller was kind of struggling. He's sitting at 6-12. That's pretty average for this type of game. And you've got Devour sitting at 9-9. He has the chance to buy dualies. I was just making a little joke about him and his dualies, but he's sitting at 9-9. Classified though, we hadn't seen much from him in this game, this best of 3 series, but he's coming out now and picking up some really big kills. Ryan sitting at 17-18. Sauce at 16-9. Scoring now 10-4. If they take this 11-4, it's going to be a tough game for Cyber Revolution just because of the mental state behind it. That's just a hard score to come back from. Even though it might be pretty typical, it's just a hard thing to look at. It kind of goes back to the fact of the days of Kabul or Aztec, whenever they were so CT-sided. And what we'd see is these games would be 12-3, typically around that time, around that round win percentage. And it's just a moral factor. It's you sit there and you lost a half, 12-3. Even though you get the same chance to do it as well, you're down by 9 rounds at that point, and that it kills your morale.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where choosing side really matters.
That's why starting CT is always the best option, in my opinion, unless it's Dust 2, where
right.
I think that's probably one of the only maps you would ever pick T-side, just because that is just a heavily T-sided map, and winning as many rounds as you can or as early as possible, it gives you the best chance. 'Cause again, like you said, it gives you the psychological advantage, because even though you did start the easier side, but you put so much pressure on the other team to answer back when you win so many rounds like that.
So right now, again, we're sitting at 10-4 as the score here.
And Devourer, it looks like he's down to a 1-on-2. The bomb is down. Good sign for Blight. If you notice the score, if you can see the scoreboard, all 5 of their members are in double-digit figures, which is a really good sign. That means all 5 of their players are putting in work. And it does look like we finished the half. Blight winning 10 rounds, Cyberrev with 5. Again, this is the 3rd map of the first Best of 3 series here at ESEA Season 12 LAN Finals in Dallas, Texas. We are having a little bit of difficulties here with the HLTV here. There's just a little bit laggy. Thank you for your patience. We're going to try to figure this out for you guys.
Yeah, and I think that one of the benefits about the community now is that they understand things that are going on. So let's go ahead and hop back into the game score right now. 10-5 here in favor of Blight Zomblerz. But going back to the community aspect of it, I mean, we've been around for ages, and I've gone through so many different situations, whether it's lag that's happened during the game, PC crashes. I remember at CPL, is it summer of 2005, I believe somebody hit a network cable. It was the camera guy that was walking around, and he kicked I think it was CPL summer of 2004, and he kicked the cable during the game of like a SK matchup, and it was the network cable for the actual, what all the players were connected to. And it ended up having to restart the game, and it was like everyone sit there and said, "Oh, he was for SK because SK was losing at that time," and it was just, there's issues, there's things that happen.
It does happen.
There's things that are out of the control of, and especially those who take advantage of connection things and stuff like that as well. Too many nerds out there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is actually the first issue that I've ever been involved with when casting ESEA. We've never had any issues.
No, we've never had any issues that were directly impacted to kind of deter the game and the flow of the game. I think it's given us a different perspective in a sense of breaking down a game, more of an in-depth look, but it's more so about the physical game itself, as in, in its bits and pieces, as opposed to the actual match at hand. That would be a cool little aspect to sit there and break down real rounds and how they kind of developed and how they evolved and stuff like that. But that's not the situation here either. So looking in here to this first round of the pistol, here in the first round of the second half, Devourer's already got 4 kills. Miller at 7 HP, which means Cyber Revolution's about to lose the pistol round. They lost the pistol round there in the first half, so now the score is going to be 11-5. Overall in favor of Blight for Zomblerz. And Schaefer sitting at 17 kills. So, again, all we can do is apologize and wait and see how things have been going. I mean, we broke down this map and all the different locations, how to kind of retake the sides. Again, we talked about the different locations. Saw the B bomb site. There's in 1.6. There's some really cool spots that you can boost up in. I don't know if that's kind of transcends into this map for Counter-Strike Source. I'd make the assumption that it does. Kind of getting boosted up onto the lamps here, classified hop up onto the fence. There's not enough room there to hop up onto that lamp. In 1.6, you can get up onto the lamp area and all that. So there's different things that kind of come into play. That's a pretty cool little shot, having a little nade fly. But right now, oh, look at that. Cyber Revolution, they needed that round, and they picked it up, so now the score's going to be 11-6 now.
Yeah, and Cyberev, they've got hope now, actually. Yeah, that was a huge round. It's got them right back into the match. Now they've got weapons. They're probably going to force Blight to save. So, I mean, Cyberev, that's exactly what they needed to do after losing that pistol round.
So again, a score currently 11-6, 5 rounds away here for the Zomblers to make something happen here. As we're, you can see that's Deagles all the way across the board for the most part, and they got 2 AKs, an MP5, and a FAMAS here for Cyber Evolution, and that just shows what Zomblers decided to buy during the second round and what they lost. Yet one of them had a FAMAS. Make the assumption that was probably Heatwave. And it looks like right now Cyber Revolution, they're going to try to just take over this A bomb site. Again, one of the things I mentioned in the first half, Cyber Revolution gets the chance to flip the script, switch roles, play the terrorist side, and take advantage of what the terrorist side has to offer here on Ruska.
So it does look like Cyberev will secure this next round here, making an 11-7 score. I'm going to assume that Blight's probably going to save again. Let's see, we're going to go to the spawn. Yeah, they're going to save again. I want to see an op in Devour's hands. This is such a long-range map, and it's such an opportunity for an opper to make impact plays at CT. So I'd like to, something commonly you'll see is you'll see an opper come through the CT, come up the stairs, and they'll cross the catwalk, and they'll try to secure this middle area, and such as long range over here. If the terrorists don't have an op, you can have really good control over this area and kind of control that.
Expected if that's exactly the same location that Devour peeked out on just now. So that's definitely going to be something that's going to be expected. With Devour watching inside of mid, he picked up 1 kill, taking down Schaefer. So, again, score right now 11-7. It's a pretty good game so far, coming back into this one.
Again, if you are tuning in, this is the third map of our first best of 3 here. And this is our third map of our second half. So whoever loses this half is going to go straight to loser's bracket.
Just taking advantage of the time that we have dealing with some of the drops that we're having latency-wise. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. I'm going to put you on the spot here. In relation to the future where Counter-Strike is going and with going into new versions of with Counter-Strike Global Offensive, and kind of talking about the proprietary, the equipment things that you have with Counter-Strike Global Offensive, bringing in the Molotov or the incendiary grenade. How do you feel if just going off of the fact that they've made the right adjustment, so it's not overbearing, it's not too weak where it's not useful at all, how much it costs and all that stuff is all perfect in your eyes? How do you see that kind of develop into strategies and stuff like that, being a strat caller back in the day with Team 3D?
I like it because when you get damaged by it, it makes noise.
That's
so
good. Right.
You can still run by the flame on the ground and stuff, but
right.
It makes noise. So what that happens is, like, if you're a CT or if you're a T and you're trying to get to a position, you can throw the grenade from a long range, have it explode, and then you know if one of the opposing members has crossed that area or not. So
right.
it gives you information to see, did they beat me across this angle? So you can eliminate what positions they can or can't be in. Also, if you take the bomb site, if it's a terrorist, you can throw it into a choke point or an entryway, delay more time, because usually
right.
later in the rounds people they take more damage. So maybe that can deter them long enough so they have to actually wait out the entire time. Or if it's a one-on-one even, and someone's in the hallway or so you know where he is, you can throw it there, and he forces him to come out and take all this extra damage.
Right.
So I think in one-on-one situations, and especially retakes, and when you're terrorist and you're defending a bomb site, I think those will be really powerful, just to deter more time and block out some of those choke points.
Do you think that knowing, with all what you just said, knowing that a Molotov or an incendiary grenade cost $850, would you still buy it? Knowing that you still need a full nade set, if you want, say we competitive wise, you're still able to buy 2 flashbangs a grenade and a smoke?
I guess it would depend on what position you're playing. I think it's also really strong in CT when the Ts can beat you across a certain avenue. You can throw those and force them to take damage, and you know if they cross or not. It goes both ways. So I guess it depends on what position you're playing. But if you're CT and you know the terrorists can get across a certain location faster than you, it'd be really strong there. Because a grenade and a flash won't stop them, and you don't know if they crossed or not. But with the incendiary grenades and the Molotovs, you can hear that.
Right. Scoring now 12-8 here in favor of the Blight Zomblers over Cyber Revolution. As again, we're kind of going stop motion here throughout this game, and kind of looking at it frame by every 30 frames or so. But kind of going back into it, what is maybe some of the downfalls with we hear a lot of people say that, the Molotov is silly, that it shouldn't exist. It's kind of like whenever the Riot Shield came out and some of the thought process behind that. What are some of the downfalls in a competitive wise, strictly just competition, that you can see from a Molotov being used, some of the negativity that comes from it?
I think if a team has a lot of money and they can all afford it, I think it'd just be really, really strong in their favor, because they can get that, and later on in the rounds, in the clutch rounds, it's just going to favor them even more, because it works both ways. If you're CT and you're throwing multiple Molotov grenades, and it just really, I'm not sure exactly how long it lasts, but if you have multiple and you can block off an entire area and burn off, I'm going to guess like 20 seconds or something.
It's the time frame that it takes for the Molotov, I think right now is 7 to 8 seconds overall.
Okay.
Plus that's also that's including the time that it takes to start in a small location and then expand off of that and then contract again and dissipate. But
when you have like 4 of them thrown, or 5.
If you have 5 of them, theoretically, if you time them out perfectly, you can last it for 35 seconds long. And if so, say for instance, the bomb is planted and they try to loft and perfectly time every single Molotov into the location where they planted the bomb, then yes, they can theoretically put Molotovs around the bomb for 35 seconds. With that being said, this is something that I think always needs to be mentioned too. If every member decides to spend $850 on each of their Molotovs, then the CTs could kill them, because they're not going to use them every time. If they use it early in the round, then what you brought up, that assumption that they could all use it later on, is kind of kaput there, because what could happen is that counter-terrorists, or say for instance the terrorists, all 5 terrorists buy those Molotovs, the counter-terrorists eliminate one of them, well, that drops his equipment, that drops his nades, all that stuff, and so that allows the CT, now he has that Molotov, and that changes the scenario. So I think there's things that a lot of people overlook. They kind of, whenever they're looking at scenarios, they kind of just jump to the first conclusion. They don't look past the further strategy that's involved into the game. Again, if you disagree, you can go ahead and post comments that you send it to @considerate_done. That's my Twitter account. If you disagree, if you agree, then that's cool. Then have fun with it. You can also follow @Ron Rambo Kim. I got him started today. I think he's already at 31 followers, and he's continuing to expand from there. 13-8 right now is the score, though. And as you can see, we're just dealing with some latency issues going back and forth between these games here. This is the upper bracket round 1 here with Cyber Revolution and Zomblerz, as we're here in the 3rd map so far. So, again, Cyber Revolution, they came out strong. More so, I think the better way of looking at it is Zomblerz came out weak.
Yeah, I think so. I think Zomblerz didn't play nearly at what potential they're capable of on the first map. And it just took them one map to get fired up, and I think finally they got warmed up and took that second match easily. And then now they're off to a really strong start on this third half. But CyberRev, they won that second round eco on the second half, so that gave them hope. Now they're back into the game.
Right.
So, again, we're having some latency issues. I think it's just the HLTV. So we're trying to get that fixed as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we're going to work through, and tomorrow there will be if not things are fixed tonight, everything will be resolved for tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at the 1.6 stream over there. It looks like their stream is working perfectly.
Yep.
We do have 3 streams going on simultaneously.